My friendly eye, and welcome back to my channel. My name is CaitlinAnwyn for anyone who's new here, and let's get back into Planet Zoo and building in our underwater zoo. I'm super excited today because we are doing something ever so slightly different because I need to make something for an exhibit species. The Diamondback Terrapins need a home, basically. So I had like this gap in between, and I thought it'd be nice to fill this gap with the exhibit species. So I researched a little bit about these terrapins, and they live in lots of different places in the world, but the one that stood out to me the most was that they live in Bermuda. So the first thing I thought of with Bermuda is obviously the Bermuda Triangle. So I'm just going to explain like my thought process behind it. So I went from terrapins to the Bermuda Triangle, and then I instantly thought of the sort of myths that go behind the Bermuda Triangle, so like crashed planes and sunken ships. And I thought it would be kind of fun to do a sunken ship and have these terrapins living inside the ship. So I didn't want to do it super realistic because one is kind of a little bit sad, and two, I have no idea really what a realistic boat looks like or a ship looks like, and I was kind of happy with the fact that it would be a ship because that goes with the underwater theme of it all and still kind of ties into where the terrapins would live, even though they're in these boxes. So I started out with the 4 set. I will be changing that in the end, but I wanted to make sure that this ship would actually fit. It's not going to turn out like super realistic. It is kind of cartoony, kind of looks like a kids play area, but it's just a bit of fun really. So this took a little bit of trial and error. I don't know how much I'm going to end up having to cut out of this because this actually took me 5 hours to build. I'm ashamed. I can't believe it took me so long. It was like basically 2 days worth of work. And I've not been feeling very well recently, so I've not had a chance to go onto the computer and build all that much because I've had really bad migraines recently. And yeah, I don't know why I wanted it like floating like this either, but it was kind of easier to make it floating so I could actually see underneath these walls, and I ended up like raising it even more as well. And the kind of funny thing with this is if you want to like duplicate the panels, if you select one, it will go back to the like straight up and down angle, but if you select more than one, it will keep to the angle that you've placed the rest in. So I'm just trying to like curve it inwards and try and get like the bottom of the ship. So the first one starts straight, and then the next one is slightly angled in, and then the bottom one is really angled in. And I decided to do a slightly flat bottom as well because this is going to end up kind of being like the roof, but not the roof. I wanted to build the whole thing first and then play around with the different angles of the whole thing to make it look like it's sunken and crashed into like an island maybe. I'm not really sure about like the final look of this yet, so I wanted to make sure that I had like a whole ship so I could play around and angle things differently as well. I kind of want to address the fact that I am building from like the inside more than the outside, so I wanted the inside of this to look really smooth and join up quite nicely, so that's how I was kind of building this. I was building it from the inside rather than the outside, but I think I will cut out the majority of what I did go around and fix because it's not all that much fun to look at. So I was trying to find a way of hiding the corners of the flooring that was sticking out of the walls of the ship, and these like accent pieces that come with the Arctic pack looked really cool. I liked how I brought in like a different shade of brown for the wood as well, so it wasn't all kind of the same. And these little pieces just kind of hid the flooring part sticking out and just gave it that little bit extra detail. Now I kind of made a little bit of a mistake here. I wanted to do like the mast and the sail. I thought I would try something quite chunky with this mast, but I do end up finding somewhere else, I think it was in props instead of architecture, I'm not sure, for this mast, because this one's just too chunky and it just doesn't look, in my opinion, good. I don't like it. I picked black for the sails. Thought this might be fun to be like a pirate ship. Maybe it won't be so sad that it's crashed and sunken as well then, because pirates are generally like bad. So I thought if this was like a nice boat that had sunken, it would be a bit sad because maybe they'd lost their ship and, you know, people could have got hurt. But if it's a pirate ship, it's kind of like a bad guy's thing, isn't it? I don't know. This is all, you know, for fun, really. It's just for some terrapins to live in and for the guests to walk into a fun area. And I was just trying to see how I could place this. Now I've got that sail and mast on, it's a little bit easier to see like the general direction I want the ship to be angled at. But I kind of realised once I was like playing around with this that the 4 exhibit was just not gonna fit. I did manage to fit in 2 though. I used the pre-built Aquatic pack exhibit. I figured I'd already made like loads of effort doing the outside. I didn't need to decorate the exhibits all that much. I just used the pre-built Aquatic pack one. I like that I've kind of done like a crack in, or like the fact that the boat's kind of broken open so the path can go through so guests can get in. But I wasn't particularly happy with some of the inside. I thought like, yeah, it looks fun from the outside, but it's kind of boring. So I used that path tunneling tool to dig the ground down a little bit. I wanted it to look sunken, so I added a bit of water in it. The paths don't like going above water. They just really don't. So you have to fiddle around with this a little bit. You need a gap there, if you get what I mean. So if you're going underneath, you need to make sure that you're going slightly below the water, and if you want it to go if you want it to go above the water, like a pier, a dock, something like that, you need to make sure that your path is slightly above it. So what I did is I lowered the ground around the ship to add in some water features, and I thought I would add in some around as well, because I kind of decided then that I wanted the guests to see some of the ship from the outside. The Arctic pack items were amazing for this build, to add in some more broken looking items, and added in like different shades of brown as well to make it look a little bit more natural and less like a giant toy. But I didn't really mind because I didn't want it super realistic. But some of the Arctic pack items just really brought in the some extra details and make it look like it's definitely like broken and split apart. I probably could have added more, but like I said, I spent 5 hours on this ship in total, or like over 5 hours on this ship in total, and I've had really bad migraines recently, so I was just not having it. These items were just really easy to just pop on and add just those extra little details, and I will show you on the end in the end of this video that guests can actually walk through these gaps. It'll look so fun. So I wanted to add some extra little details into this water part to kind of show that maybe this was like a working ship at one point, and now that it's sunken, most of the things on the inside of the ship has floated away, but some things have kind of got caught in this like pool area, and I just wanted to add like extra little details of some floating objects around the like water area, and like baskets and buckets look really cool because they actually do fill up on the inside as well. And wow. I was really shocked by that. I thought once I put it in, it would just be like kind of empty and hollow on the inside, but it actually does fill with water. I thought it looked really cool, and like putting them at different angles really does make it look like they're floating around. The palettes look fun, and yeah, I put some just random fruit and stuff. I hope, kind of disappointed it wasn't like rotten fruit. But, you know, maybe these pirates didn't want to get scurvy, but they ended up crashing anyway. So they do have some fruit on their ship. It's just kind of floating in the water now. But I did find a big log that I could use for my ship's mast when I was finding some little objects for the floating part of inside the exhibit. And I thought this looked way better than that giant, I don't know, round thing. Wasn't particularly happy with that, and I think this looks a lot better. It looks a lot more like a sail and a mast now. So I wanted to add some rope down, so like, I don't know, maybe this rope is for the sail or to like hold the mast up. I don't know. I just wanted to add in some extra little details of some ropes and stuff going down the mast into the top deck, just so it looks a little bit more interesting really, and actually looks like it could be held there. It's a little bit more awkward building at this angle than when it was flat. I wish I'd found this first, but yeah, I couldn't find like a thing to steer the boat. So I used this cart wheel, and I thought it looked realistic enough, I guess, and just used some of the panels in the same shade as the rest of the ship to cover up the rest of the cart so that only the wheel was showing. And I think it looks okay in the end. I do end up making it a bit higher, so it looks a little bit more like the person who was steering the ship could actually see over the walls of the ship itself. I didn't realize that it was so low when I was building it, so I do end up making it slightly higher and putting a few more steps in, so it looks like these little guests can, not the guests, the pirates, I guess, can actually step up on there and steer the ship. And now I'm adding in lots of really big rocks. I used the Arctic ones because I really like the colour of them, and I kind of put some Arctic objects in the ship as well, so I kind of wanted to add in with that. And I just really like the colour of these ones, and I didn't want to keep using the aquatic ones all the time, so these are just Arctic rocks. And I'm just trying to block off the guest's view of anything other than the sky and the ship. So I wanted to pile these rocks up really high and kind of make it look like this ship was definitely crashed into these rocks, and just build up underneath, hide all of those like little bits that I'd mentioned earlier that I wasn't so happy with, and just kind of chunk this area up so it looks more like the ship has actually crashed into this like island of rocks, I don't know, this rocky area. And now that I'm happy with the placement and everything around this ship, I wanted to add in some extra little details, like some round windows. I've made the ship a little pointier and a little less like a child's play area, jungle gym kind of ship. It does kind of remind me of the ship you can get in The Sims for kids to play on, like that one where they climb on top and pretend to be pirates. I must have just had that in the back of my mind at some point. And I also thought it'd be kind of funny to add in some lifeboats. Is that what they're called? Yeah, some lifeboats. So, you know, this ship has crashed and obviously they need some way of escaping. So I added in like these boats that are just in the game. And I've got them hanging off the side of the ship. And this is just kind of not realistic at all. They look like they're floating, but I've just added some of this curved rope over the top so it looks like it's kind of attached to the side of the boat. It was kind of awkward, again, like having this weird angle. I should have just decorated it all flat and then placed it down, but I wasn't really sure how I was going to do any of it. But there we go, we got like these floating-ish lifeboats on the sides as well, and it just gives us a little extra thing to look at. Like the guests get to see those as well once they get out of that little building. I get a little bit of fresh air, get to have a look at this ship, and then have a look inside for the terrapins. Okay, and now on to actually getting these terrapins in this exhibit. Oh my goodness, this took me so long, but obviously because this whole ship area isn't where these terrapins live, it doesn't really matter. So I've got 2 in there, and obviously because this is sandbox, everything's nice, everything's all researched, so I'm just making sure these terrapins have a great place to live, really. I've shut off some of the windows in the middle and at the back and placed these 2D images there so guests can't really see behind the ship. I've just put some rocks there to kind of block it off as well, kind of like the rocks have broken through this ship. Oh, and I also added in some extra little details like some water features, so some water effects, because you know I love these water effects in this zoo. So I've just got some leaking points into that pooled area there too. And yes, so I thought it'd be actually good to show you what these terrapins look like because we spent the majority of this video building this giant sunken ship and absolutely nothing to do with the terrapins, and they're just so cute. I love them. So yeah, I thought I would show off some different angles of the ship. Obviously the guests are going to see the majority of the inside and just about like the one angle of the ship, but I wanted to show you everything. I haven't just decorated one part just because the guests can only see that part. I just wanted to make this a bit of fun, really. And if you do want this sunken ship in your zoo, let me know, because I will put it up on Steam if you would like to download it, and it all works lovely. I will put a clip in of the guests coming and having a look at these terrapins walking in the ship and having a look around. It's kind of fun as well because this is the first time the guests are actually gonna not be enclosed in a space, so either under the water or in a building like the shop buildings and the pathway buildings. So yeah, they get a little bit of fresh air to see the terrapins and then go straight back inside the ship to actually see them. I've never built anything this big either, and I've never spent this much time just building something for a teeny tiny exhibit animal. But hey, it was a bit of fun, and I'm gonna leave it off there. If you liked this sunken ship build, smash that like button And if you haven't already and you would like to, it would mean a lot to me if you could subscribe and hit the bell to be notified whenever I upload a new video. I upload on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Goodbye!